this episode of Corso Systems Tech Talks, where we're going to talk about process historians. I'm Alex Marcy, the president and founder of Corso Systems. First, we'll discuss what a process historian is, the different technologies involved in the popular historians on the market for storing data, and why you might want to pick one over another for your use case. Regardless of how the data is collected or stored, a process historian is a way to store time series data. This is important for the manufacturing world as we care a lot about what happens and when it happened. This is a majority of the value proposition of something like Seek or Flow, a tool where you can analyze time series data on trend charts or reports or using calculations and glean interesting insights from that data. While this applies more to process engineers and data analysts, it can be useful for operators as well. You'll find in most processes, operators will have trends on the screen showing them tank levels, pressures, flows, or any of the other measurements they need to do their job. Trends like these help them see how things have been performing over a given period of time, and if they need to be made aware of anything that will require their attention later on in their shift. This data is usually collected in some sort of a historian. There are numerous ways historians collect and store data. In manufacturing, it usually comes from tags in a PLC or a SCADA system, where each tag represents a measurement or calculation from the process. This data is then stored along with a timestamp, either in a database like with the Ignition Tag Historian module or InfluxDB, or in a flat file system like with OSIPy or Canary Labs Historian. Storing the values of the data along with the timestamp allows the data to be ordered by the timestamp and shown on a trend. It also makes it easy to query a particular period of time or event for further analysis after it happened. Generally, process historians will come with some sort of tool to analyze the data contained within the historian, and they can generally act as data sources for other analysis tools as well. Databases are very useful for storing and retrieving large amounts of data. There are a couple of industry standards, MySQL and SQL Server, and a lot of the technology we use day to day is built using these databases. This approach is what Ignition uses for its tag historian, and most SCADA systems will use some sort of database for their standalone systems with generally up to tens of thousands of tags. The downside of a database-backed historian is at some point you will need to write the data from memory to disk, which makes retrieving it more costly from a computation perspective. This can be counteracted by using caching mechanisms or servers with a lot of memory to keep the data readily available, where it is faster to retrieve in memory. The benefit is you can use off-the-shelf tools in the SQL query language you already know to get the data once it's stored. There are also some clever tricks like using the tag history splitter with Ignition to break data up into different chunks to speed up retrievability across different tables. If you're querying a year of data out of a single large table containing multiple years of data versus querying a month of data out of a smaller table, the month will be queried faster because there's less data to process. Flat files, on the other hand, are purpose-built for whatever historian is using them, so they can be highly optimized and compressed, allowing you to dump a lot of data very quickly into them, and given their optimizations, reading data from them can be very fast as well. The downside is you will likely need to build an API to make the data accessible if you're the historian developer, and if you're using the historian, you'll need to use an API to interact with the data instead of a database query. This means purpose-built historians are great for handling huge tag counts, if we're looking at millions of tags, for example, or projects that require capturing high-speed data. Think if we're looking at like a particle collider versus a wastewater treatment plant, and we need to get really, really high-speed data and pump a lot of it through the system really quickly. Generally, choosing a historian is based on the cost versus benefit analysis. Adding an Ignition historian to an Ignition system can handle a large amount of data and is relatively cheap, whereas a purpose-built historian is usually licensed per tag. There are also resource costs involved in purpose-built historians in terms of training and maintenance to take into account. If you're well versed with SQL, getting a purpose-built historian might add some additional complexity to getting access to your data for reporting, for example. We think a good route to go is usually to start with whatever historian tools are built into your SCADA platform and assess your needs as your system grows and you begin to rely on your data more and more. As always, thank you for watching Tech Talks, and please let us know if you have any questions or would like to suggest future topics by checking out our website at corsosystems.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.